Assalamu alaikum guys. Nice to see you all again. So today we are going to start the second lesson, that means under your unit 1. So we have started your last presentation, the atomic theory of matter. I said that is part 1. You have another 2 more presentation belongs to the atomic theory of matter. Right. According to that, give me a second. So according to that, now we are going to step into the second part. Right. We know this is also unit 1 atomic structure, and I am going to speak about the atomic theory of matter part 2. And you know, I am Najmunisha Asha, your chemistry teacher. So let's step into the chapter. So before start the chapter, we have to know what are the thinking. So last presentation, I clearly mentioned why we are performing with the presentation, this video. You have to understand, you have to know what we are going to study inside this presentation. So I will give a clear, just a brief introduction about each and everything. Yes, the earlier presentation we studied about what the cathode rays and the electrons, right? So now we are going to introduce the nucleus of atom. And we know the atom is consisting what the positive rays also. The next one is the positive rays. Sorry, the properties of the positive rays, that is the experimental observations. And then even though your atom has subdivision, that behavior of alpha, beta and gamma rays in an electric field. So according to that, that is very important. We are going to speak about the Rutherford Goldfoil experiment, and we have to know the Bohr model too. So let's step into the first heading, the nucleus of the atom. Yes. What is meant by the nucleus of the atom? So still I am talking about the history of the atom. What is meant by matter? What is meant by atom? What is the substance? The atom is consisting electron. Yes, we already given. And now they are telling us the atom has nucleus too. And also about the positive rays. So let's step into the first one. The German physicist Eugen Goldstein experimentally proved the existence of positive charges in matter. He is the person, he said, the matter, your atom is having the positive charges. The Goldstein, right? Sorry. In his experiment, what he had done is a perforated cathode. He was used, okay? A perforated cathode was used in a discharge tube along with air at very low pressure. So like your cathode tube experiment, the Goldstein has used a perforated cathode was used in the discharge tube along with a very low pressure. When a high voltage he used around 10,000 volts was applied across the electrodes. Now a faint red glow was observed behind the perforated cathode. So when they applied through the high voltage, across the electrode, you can see a faint red glow was observed behind the perforated cathode. So when the high voltage is applied, I said the electric field was accelerates and the small number of ions present in the gas, which is the collide. These collide with the atom. These collide with atom of gas, knocking electrons off them and creating more positive ions. So you should be very careful about that. When you apply the high voltage along to this tube, these fields accelerates the ions. So what will happen? The collision of the atom, which will knocking the electrons out of your system, and it will provide the more positive ion. Yes, then we will go for the continuation. So what will be happen? Now the positive ions are, yes, these electrons are turned into strike more atoms, creating the more positive ions. Now these positive ions are attracted to the cathode and some passes through the pores in the cathode. Why they are telling is, I will show you, this is what the design of your positive ray perforated the positive cathode ray tube. How the positive rays are producing, right? I said, right, what is that word? The positive ions are attracted to the cathode. Yes, this is your cathode. The positive ions are attracted towards that, and the positive, the gold, and these positive ions are all attracted to cathode. Some pass through the, you can see, some pass through the holes in the cathode. For that sake, the Goldstein called these positive rays as the Canal rays because they were produced by the holes or channels of the cathode. You can see this is what the perforated the holes of the cathode. You can see now what is happening when the electric charge is applied. The positive ions attracted towards the cathode, right? The perforated cathode. Some of the positive rays pass through this hole. Therefore, the Goldstein, the Goldstein called these positive rays as a canal rays because they are able to produce by the holes or channels in the cathode. So, because of that, although the rays are not exactly formed at the positive electrode or anode, since they formed away from the cathode close to the anode, they were known as, we are telling, that is the anode rays, positive rays. So this is clearly visible by using this picture. So you should be very careful about that. We are telling exactly this is not performed by the production of the anode, right? The emission of the anode, because of the cathode tube which produce the this ray that we are calling what, the anode ray or positive ray. Now we step into the properties of the positive ray. This is what the experimental observation, right? So actually, last presentation we studied the properties of the cathode rays. So obviously seems to be similar. The one or two are different. So when you understood that one, once you understood that properties, you can go through these properties very easily, right? Let's start the properties of the positive rays, which is the experimental observation. The first one, yes, they travel in straight lines. and cast a shadow of the objects placed in their way. We said, yeah, when you place the opaque metal object, if it is a straight line, the opposite side of your discharge tube, you can see what the shadow of that opaque object, right? So this is what now they are telling is your positive rays travels in the straight line. And the second one, they can move a paddle wheel placing their paths. Yes, what they are telling is if they can move the paddle wheel placing their path, so they have momentum, they have kinetic energy, they have the mass. So this is what the positive rays seems to be similar action like your negative rays. Next, these rays are positively charged, and when an electric field is applied, this path of rays, they are deflected towards the negative plate of an electric field. Yes, we said these rays should be positively charged. So when you apply the electric field, definitely it will attract towards what? Your negatively charged plate, not the positively charged plate. Therefore, according to this statement, we can say these rays are positively charged. Next, the nature of the positive rays depends upon the gas taken in the discharge tube. This is the basic difference between your cathode rays and the anode rays, your positive rays. The cathode rays are independent of the nature of the gases and the paste what you made, the cathode, right? But the positive rays are depends on the gases which is using in your inside your discharge tube. That's why they are telling the different gases give the different type of the positive rays, which contain particles having different masses and different charges. Therefore, the E over M ratio is not constant for positive ray particles obtained from different gases. So this is the major difference between the cathode rays and the anode rays, right? We said it's independent of the gases what you are using inside the discharge tube, but this is the positive rays are independent of the gases using inside the discharge tube. Because of that, E over M ratio is not constant for the positive ray particles obtained from the different gases. All right. So whatever. They have designed about what the positive ray, what their properties, right? Now, in 1907, they said the ray was deflected the magnetic field and it's revealed making they were not all the same mass. Yes. The ray was deflected in the magnetic field and that is why the particles are making up the way were not all same mass like your electron, right? The lightest one formed when there was some hydrogen gas in the tube. Were calculated to be about 1,840 times heavier than the electron. What we already said is the electron is the lightest one, right? 1 over 184, right? But when you take the lightest one from when we are using the hydrogen gas inside the tube. So that is heavier than the 1,840 times heavier than your electrons. Because of that, the mass of any other positive particles is a multiplication of the mass of the lightest positive particles. Should be very careful about that. Mass of any other positive particles is a multiplication of the mass of the lightest positive particles. So now, therefore, it should be a subatomic particle. They were named as protons. So earlier, the cathode rays is derived as an electron because of the charge and that by the Robert Millikan and everyone. Now what happened, the positive rays, the anode rays is a step into the protons. That is what we are calling is a subatomic particles. Always the mass of any other positive particles is multiplication of the mass of the lightest positive particle. Therefore, we are calling this subatomic particle as proton. So you have to know the charge of this charge and the relative mass of this proton. Yeah, the proton, the mass of a proton is 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 24 grams. Or you can say it's 1.00726, sorry, 276 joule that we are using, but the atomic mass units or daltons. Earlier we used like what the AMU, average mass unit, right? Now we are using the atomic mass unit. The proton has a charge equal and opposite to that an electron. What we said is, give me a second. Okay, so we know we have find the mass of the proton. So what is the charge of the proton? The charge of the proton is equal to the charge of your electron, but it's opposite to the electron, right? It's equal, right? Proton has the equal and opposite. Though it is a electron is a minus, you can say the proton is what? The positive. Hence the absolute charge of the proton we are giving what? 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19 coulomb, and charge we mention as what? Positive. So what is the relative charge? The smallest positive charge carrying particles in an atom, and the relative charge of proton is positive plus 1. So following this discovery, okay, so following the discovery of the radioactive in 1896 by the French scientist Henri Becquerel and the British physicist Lord Ernest Rutherford, showed the radioactive materials produce the three types of the emission, that is alpha, beta and gamma. Actually, you know about this alpha, beta, gamma, how it's derived, how it's discovered. This is because of the radioactive behavior of your what? Atom, right? So the discovery of the radioactivity, what they said is the Henri Becquerel and Ernest Rutherford said, right? They showed the radioactive material able to produce the three types of the emission, that is alpha, beta and gamma. So next slide, we will step into that about this alpha, beta, gamma. Yes, the path of alpha and beta radiation are bent by an electric field, right? The path of alpha and beta radiation are bent by an electric field. Yes, we will go this one by one. The first one is the alpha rays. They consist of positively charged particles. We are called alpha particles, and therefore they are deflected towards the negatively charged ray. You know, when you face the electromagnetic electric field, right, the alpha that we are assuming that is a positively charged one, therefore they deflected, they attracted towards what? The negatively charged ray. Now say about the beta. Yeah, the beta particles have identically of the electrons, and they deflected towards the positively charged place. So why we are telling it's negatively charged particle? What about the gamma rays? This type of the radioactive radiation consists of high energy rays like X-ray. The gamma rays have no charge and are not affected by any external electric or magnetic field. So should be very careful about that. So when you think about the alpha rays, alpha is a positive particle, so they deflected towards one the negative charge. The beta is a negative particles. Yes, Indirectly, you can say that is what the identity of the electrons, right? Therefore, it's deflected towards what? Your positively charged plate. And when you go for the gamma is sorry. When you go for the gamma rays, this type of the radioactive radiation is always consists the high energy, high energy rays like your X-rays, but they don't have any charge, and therefore it's not affected by any electric or magnetic field. So this could be clearly shown by these diagrammatic forces, and he is the Henry Becquerel. And he is the person what the Lord Ernest Rutherford, and why the company with them, they found the behavior of alpha, beta and gamma rays and electric field. This is the clear picture of that. When you take the lead block, right? So it is able to produce the radioactive substance. So by using the slit, the hole should be there. So yeah, by through that, okay, by using the electric plate, you know the beta rays always deflected towards what the positive, right? So when you go for what, the alpha rays is always deflected to the negative. Why we are telling the alpha rays are positively charged? The beta ray deflected to negative. We are telling what the beta rays are negatively charged, and gamma rays which should not deflection, you can see there is no any more deflection, that what we are telling gamma rays. Hopefully you will understand about what the Henry Becquerel and the Lord Ernest Rutherford combined together, and they found about what the radioactive substance material alpha, beta and gamma. Now Ernest Rutherford, he have derived the model by performing an experiment that we are calling what the gold foil experiment. So he is the person somewhat he described about the model of the atom, how the electron protons are distributed, and that has the substance called nucleus. So let's we step into Rutherford's gold foil experiment. Yes. Rutherford, together with associate Johnson Hans William Geiger and the physicist and in 1908, the Rutherford, together with the associate the Johann Hans William Geiger and the German physicist is an undergraduate named as the Ernest Manston, carried out a series of the experiment using very thin gold foil, right? The foil of the gold and metals. The targets particles form a radioactive source. The alpha particles able to form a radioactive source. Right, your alpha particles which are able to show the right, and this is not A, this should be alpha, right? You can use, okay, this is your alpha particles, this is not A, so it should be shown as alpha particles, right? It targeted from the radioactive sources, right? So what he said is by using that phrase, He has explained about. Okay, I will clear this all drawings. Okay, you should be very careful about that. That should be what? It's alpha, right? Okay. So I can use annotate for the spotlight. Okay, right. Okay. Because of this, the Ernest Rutherford Goldfoyle experiment, he accompanied with William Geiger and Ernest Marsden, and he performed a series of the experiment by using the thin balls of the gold, and he found by using the alpha particles, right? This is not the A particles, the alpha particles form a radioactive source. So by look this diagram, you can clearly understand the source of the alpha particles. This is your source. It's emitting the alpha particle. We use the thin coil point, and we are using the circular fluorescent screen to observe what is the deflection and deflection, the ray scattering, right? When the beam of particle enter the gold foil, you can see the most of them are. This is what the deflected particles. Once it's enter, it's back deflected, right? And others are scattered. Some are directly, most of the particles are undeflected directly hit your circular fluorescent screen, and some are scattered in some angle. Some alpha particles are scattered in angle. This should be very clearly can show by this atomic substance of the gold foil. So you can see this is your alpha particles. The gold foil thing is made by the atom, made by most of the atoms, right? What happens? You can see the alpha particle which pass through the what? And it's hit the fluorescent. That's why they said the most of the particles are undeflected. Without any deflection, they went through and hit the fluorescent, right? And you can see the scatter alpha particles. Some are scattered. Why? Because of having this nucleus. And next, the continuation. The atoms, positive charges. The Rutherford proposed are all concentrated the nucleus, a dense central core within the atom. Because of that, it's bound back. There is no deflection, right? Bounce back again. So whenever a particle came close to a nucleus, scattering experiment, it experienced a large repulsive force and therefore large deflection. So moreover, an alpha particle traveling direction towards a nucleus would experience an enormous repulsion that could be completely reverse the direction of moving particles because of what? The nucleus. This is what the Rutherford Goldberg, Rutherford model, he said, it has the concentrated the core nucleus and having the electron. Most of the spaces are empty. Because of this concentrated core, it deflected towards the source. Right. Subsequent studies. Mainly based on the mass spectroscopy, they reveal the masses of atoms were much greater than the masses of the protons and the electrons. So this is what, according to the Rutherford model, he said, we have the protons and electrons, okay, and having the nucleus. But when you check, right, the subsequent atoms, right, when you use the energy, when you check the subsequent atom, when you use the atom plus Sorry. So according to that, the mass of the atom should be equal to your protons, the number of protons plus electrons, right? Mass of atom should be equal to number of the protons and electrons, but it's not happens. It's not happens. The always the mass of the protons, mass of the atom higher than the protons or the electrons. So therefore, he said, right? He said, why these atoms much greater than the masses of the protons and the electrons present? So this is all, right? So this should be clearly said by you all. Yes. So there should be another subatomic atom. So which poses what? So contribute the mass of the atom little bit higher. That is what is told by the James Chadwick. He proposed the discovery of the neutron. Because of the neutron only, the atom is getting the greater mass compared with your protons and the electrons. So he said the charge of the neutrons is 0 and the mass of the neutron is 1.6749 into 10 to the power of minus 24 gram, or you can say 1.008665 AMU. So this is what we have to know. He is the person, the James Chadwick, and he is the person, the Niels Bohr. So why I'm going to speak about the Niels Bohr now? According to that, the Rutherford time. Okay, we have learned more and more about the nuclei. The Niels Henrik David Bohr, right? The Niels Bohr. He combined with the suggestion, right? Atomic nucleus surrounded by electrons moving in an orbit. The planets around the sun. He said, right? He's the person, right? The Rutherford time, they have derived so many things about the nuclei, atomic nuclei. And finally, the Niels Henrik David Bohr, he decided, he combined these ideas together and he suggested that atomic nucleus was surrounded by an electron moving an orbit like a planet around the sun. Right? So when he is using, right, the moving an orbit, right, by using the planets around the sun, you can see by this the Niels Rutherford said by this. Finally, he postulated, right? You can use the spotlight. Okay, he postulated that the electron, in order to remain in orbit, right, the electrostatic attraction between the nucleus and electron must be equal to the centrifugal force, like your planet around the sun, right? And in other words, electron has traveled in constant speed around the nucleus, keeping the distance from the nucleus constant. So this model he introduced Rutherford Bohr model or Bohr model, and the particles found in nucleus are called the nucleons, including the protons and the neutrons in the atom. This nuclide is the nucleus of the atom has specific number of protons and neutrons. So this is what we are telling. The nucleus are composites of the particles of nucleons. The the Niels Bohr models say around the nucleus the electrons are moving in an orbit shaped like a sun, right? So there should be a constant attraction. The centrifugal force should be equal all everywhere. The constant attraction should be there. So according to that, he said it's a nucleus. Having the nucleus is containing the protons and the neutrons. This is what the composite particles of the nucleus called by the Rutherford model. Okay, guys. So here within this thing, I will conclude this presentation. Thank you very much. So guys, we will meet on to the next part of the atomic theory of matter part 3. So we will go through that one. Up to that, we have studied the electrons, protons, nucleons, right? Your nuclear neutrons. All subatomic particles are concluded. Now we are going to step into what is atom, ions, atomic number, mass number, isotopes, such as thing. So we will meet on to the next presentation. See you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.